Hey, have you ever thought like this? Seeing those wonderful qualities in some people like kindness, wisdom, or courage, and then thinking in your heart, wow, I wish I could have that too. Well, what if I told you that these good qualities are actually achievable? That you can copy them onto yourself, much like learning a craft. Do you believe it? Today, we're going to talk about a very interesting ancient wisdom that uses a concept we're all familiar with managing a garden to explain how this can be done. All the content we're exploring today comes from a very precious manuscript provided by the Buddha Footprints Association of Australia. Its best feature is that it turns principles that sound profound into a practical guide that we can truly follow step by step. So, let's get straight to the core question of the day. How can we truly transform the good qualities of others into our own strength? That sounds a bit far-fetched, doesn't it? But it's not fantasy. It's a learnable mental technique. The core of this technique is hidden in this character, which you can imagine as the highest form of spiritual photography. Regular cameras capture external light and shadow, right? So this captures the beautiful inner qualities of enlightened beings, what we call good roots, good karmic seeds. And the most amazing part is that this reproduction is perfect. It doesn't add any of your own imagination, nor does it miss even a glimmer of the other person's radiance. It imprints it onto our mind field exactly as it is. Sounds fantastic, right? So, how does this process of spiritual photography, or copying, actually begin? The first step, just like any great farmer, is that you must first make a vow and personally plant that most important seed of goodness. Here, we must first clarify a very important concept. Making a vow is completely different from making a birthday wish when blowing out candles. A wish might involve some element of luck, but taking a spiritual vow is a very conscious, deliberate action. You are not begging from the outside, rather, you are firmly and consciously planting a clear course within your own mind field. This is like pressing a button that activates the law of cause and effect. Once this course is planted, it is certain to move toward its effect. How is this planting born? You see, this process can actually be broken down into 3 clear steps. Mind is the root. This means that everything starts with a thought in your mind. Without this thought, nothing else will happen. Convenient action, practice. Thinking alone isn't enough, right? So, the next step is to actualize it through concrete, intelligent methods and actions. Seed formation, finally. When your thought and your action combine, the seed forms into a powerful intention. The seed is thus born, ready to sprout. Okay, so far, we have successfully planted the seed. But is that the end of it? Of course not. Anyone who has ever grown flowers or plants knows that the real work is just beginning. Next, we need to learn how to create the best environment to nourish this tender sprout, giving it all the conditions it needs to grow. You see this diagram? It clearly breaks down this matter. The seed on the left is the fundamental cause we discussed so far. But think about it. Just having a seed, if you throw it onto concrete, will anything grow? Of course not. So, we need the conditions on the right. Which of the past aids the supporting conditions? They are like the soil, water, sunlight, and warmth. Although these things are not the seed itself, the seed cannot survive without them. Right, they are the decisive key. So, the most crucial point here is that we are not only responsible for planting the seed, but we are equally responsible for creating the conditions. This means our practice cannot just be occasionally thinking of a good wish and then leaving it alone. Instead, we must continuously and consciously water, fertilize, and give sunlight to it in our daily lives. Okay, at this point, we've entered the gate, knowing how to sow and how to water. Now, let's get into the advanced level. We need to graduate from the beginner village and move towards the goal of becoming a gardening master. To master this skill, one needs to grasp the more advanced mindsets. One is called unceasing, and the other is called the wisdom of all-knowingness. Let's look at unceasing first. This doesn't mean you shouldn't sleep, or that you have to study desperately 24 hours a day. That's not the meaning. Its true meaning is a continuous state of mind and mental laboratory track. This means that the thought, I've learned enough, or I already know this, should never rise in your mind. Why? Think about those who are making vows for their countless sentient beings with all sorts of afflictions and needs. If we only know one method, It's like a doctor who only has one universal medicine. How could they cure everyone's illness? Therefore, to achieve the original vow, the path of learning has no end. Next, this concept is truly at the master level, the wisdom of all-knowingness. What does this represent? It's not just knowing what wisdom looks like. More importantly, it means you thoroughly and transparently understand wisdom, a complete SOP, standard operating procedure. For growing from a seed of course into the fruit of fact, you become like Shannon, the mythical Chinese divine borrower. You know how a seed of wisdom germinates, what kind of sunlight, air, and water it needs, what pests and diseases it might encounter during its growth, and how to deal with them to ensure it will definitely bear sweet fruit in the end. This is an ultimate wisdom about the process, yes. You heard correctly, an SOP. When you master this entire thought for cultivating all good roots, you can not only manage your own garden well, but you can even see how all those great sages manage their gardens. Only then can you truly achieve a Shi'eche with spark of at the beginning to perfectly copy their good roots. Why? Because you understand the underlying operational logic, and this entire process can be applied to every seed of goodness you wish to plant, whether it's compassion, wisdom, or courage. It applies universally. Alright, we've learned to plant, we've learned to nurture, and we're almost ready to become gardening masters. So what? What is the ultimate purpose of all this effort? This brings us to the core and most important part of today, protecting the garden, which is guarding the most precious seed of enlightenment. All diligent cultivation isn't just to make our own small plot beautiful. The ultimate goal is to safeguard the tough border, nature. You can think of it as protecting the gene pool of a rare, endangered species, and that species is called the potential for enlightenment. When we strive to make the seed of enlightenment in our hearts sprout, flourish, blossom, and bear fruit, we ourselves become part of the sacred lineage. We ensure that this possibility, the potential to free all beings from suffering and bring them happiness, can be passed down from generation to generation in this world, never to be extinguished. After all this talk, we must return to the most practical aspect. What exactly should we do? You see this screen. It gives us a wonderful practical map. What is the water and fertilizer you need? It is the merit you accumulate every good deed you do, every virtuous thought you have in your daily life. That is the best natural, organic fertilizer. What is the sunlight? It is your focused attention. Wherever your attention is, that is where the energy is. What is the warmth? It is your own passion, that joy and immersion that comes from your heart wanting to accomplish it. Of course, all of this requires day-by-day care. Like looking after a small baby requires continuous attention and commitment. Finally, this passage from the Etra of Complete Enlightenment, Yuan Zhu Jin, feels like the most beautiful annotation for our discussion today. Seeing all kinds of phenomena, the mind should rise with rarity, as if a Buddha has appeared in the world. This sentence is truly beautiful. I think this feeling of rarity, this heart that understands appreciation and praise, might be the most fertile soil in our spiritual garden. It allows us to see that every single event in life can be our teacher. There are opportunities to cultivate good roots everywhere. So, before we conclude today, perhaps we should all ask ourselves, which rare seed will I prepare to plant in my mind field today?